Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. We have something kind of special here today. This is Soulkey playing PROTOSS. This is Snow playing ZERG on the ladder. Isn't that interesting? Two of the best players in the world about to play each other with their main races in the round of 4 of SSL happen to hit each other playing off races of their opponents on the ladder. That, I find things like that very, very interesting. Okay? And I do wonder if they're going to try to hide or show anything, sow some disinformation, because obviously, well, for sure, Snow knows that's Soulkey. As far as Soulkey knowing it's Snow, he'll know afterwards 100%, but I don't know if he can read barcodes. I don't know if he's a barcode scanner. We're on the map KICKBACK. But yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is I've heard people say before that, you know, they think it would be a good idea to practice your off-race matchups to, like, kind of learn more about it, right? Once you play as it, as the opposing race, you start to find some of the weaknesses, the ways that you're dying, the things that maybe you thought that maybe didn't hold to be true. What is actually scary as other race and everything. The thing is, it can be a little bit difficult and time consuming. You can, like, for instance, if Soulkey's playing PROTOSS and hitting PROTOSS versus Terran, you know, that's not a matchup that's going to help him really in any way. It's specifically only PROTOSS versus ZERG that could be helpful. But I do know that this is something people have thought about a lot. Not a ton of people practice it. I have found, like, when I do play PROTOSS and I hit a PROTOSS versus Terran, it will kind of open my eyes to a few things where I'm like, oh, I see where, like, right here, I'm kind of lacking vision and the map is a little bit scary, you know? And so I've thought of some things like that after playing off-race. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think that this would be a reasonable use of time for literally the very best players in the world. Because don't forget, right? Like, I'm sure that they're both pretty good at these off races, but compared to their main races, far, far, far below. And just to put that into context, I've played a lot of the off races of pro gamers. Like, I've played, yeah, a lot of them, and they're beatable. They're beatable for someone like me, right? Whereas their main races really are not. So, and that wouldn't be everyone all the time, obviously. But yeah, I wanted to throw that out there to try to give some sort of context as to exactly how strong they might be. Now, okay, so zealot pressure coming out of Soulkey's PROTOSS here. He is going into the forge after this as well, trying to put some damage onto Snow. Wow, he's going to get 2 drones. Dude, that is so painful. 3 drones? 3 drones. Well, Soulkey's PROTOSS definitely looking a bit stronger. Not that great a micro from Snow on his drones right there. A little bit painful. Yeah, not entirely impressed by that. Like, you should not be losing 3 drones to a zealot and a probe. The first ones that walk across the map. I know it was a hatchery first and everything. But he could have microed better. You could have literally just run and it would have been better, right? Like, you could have just drilled far away and just lost mining time. That's better than losing 3 drones. Soulkey, completely tight over here. This is the only hole in this wall. This is a beautiful wall in. So it's not like Snow can do anything. And, yeah, it definitely feels like Soulkey has a gigantic advantage right now. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if Soulkey's a bit better with PROTOSS than Snow is with ZERG. Soulkey has a little bit more experience, I would say, overall, especially as a top player. Also, I feel like I should mention, not to throw shade, because I think Snow is one of the best players in the world, regardless of race. But there was, a few years ago, an off-race tournament in Korea for the pros. I forget who held it, but basically all the top pros had to play a different race than their main race in the tournament. And in the very first round, every single PROTOSS main player lost. So they're, like, just generally speaking, the PROTOSS players didn't seem to play as well with their off races as the Terran and ZERG players did. Now, The Zealot's pushing forward, going to push these Zerglings back. Soulkey came up with a secondary probe to block that wall and make a second cannon, getting that mining going as well. A bit of a surround here on those Zealots. Yeah, pretty decent micro on both sides. Does feel like Soulkey's maybe microing just slightly better. But a little bit better there from Snow. Looking at Snow, he looks like he probably wants to go 3-hatch Hydra. We'll take a look at these drone counts. So 8, 5, 6. So yeah, that's exactly how many that you would have for a 3-hatch Hydra Rush, is how many he has right now. Don't forget he lost those 3 drones early on, so, you know, obviously that pushes it back just slightly to get to this number. But yeah, he's got his 22 drones out right now, starting to pump those Hydras. So it looks like he is going to go for a Hydra bust, and he kept the Zealots back, which is important. Now, the Corsair coming out, this is why killing any drones, or part of why killing any drones can be very powerful, because if you have to make those 3 additional drones before you start this, see, the Corsair finds this rush out here. Maybe the rush is here when he finds it, right? So that does give him some extra seconds. We'll see if that's going to be enough to hold this. And of course, Snow does not have to completely commit to this push, right? Like he can turn this off. He knows how to do it. You know, it's happened to him countless times, right? Where there's like a 3-hatch Hydra push coming, and like you just kind of like turn back into drones once a bunch of cannons are purchased. So right now the Corsair being a bit annoying. Snow is going to leave a Hydra home to deal with that. Starting to work on the Forge. Ooh, that's really nice positioning right there. Look at that. This doesn't look like it's going to finish. There's a chance Soulkey walks out, but honestly, this is not far enough along. I don't think there's a real chance of him saving his +1. I don't think it's worth the Zealots dying or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe buying a little bit of time here is reasonable to get the cannons up anyways. But we actually don't see that many cannons. Snow is taking a 4th hatchery down here. And yeah, he cancels out that +1. Double Forge coming up for Soulkey, getting his Templar Archives as well. Oops. Want to see what that is. Okay, just a pylon up there. And yeah, it does seem as if Snow is just going into macro play from here. So actually, Soulkey read it perfectly. That's funny. I could see the whole map and I didn't read it perfectly here. But I was like, oh, I feel like he should have started 2 more cannons just in case. But his Corsair was over here. I think he kind of read into what was going on well. And this is a good macro transition from Snow. You can see his drone count really, really rising right now. He is going to be able to bust down this gateway as well. 3rd Nexus coming up very quickly here from Soulkey. And this is where it's going to get a little bit interesting. Look at this. We have double hatchery here, evolution chamber, so kind of an interesting wall in here from Snow. And he has this 4th base. So here's the thing, right? Like, you're going to run out of resources relatively quickly on Kickback. It's 1,200 minerals per patch and 3,000 gas per geyser on all expansions. Only the main bases in the corners have regular amounts. So, like, we can see here that Soulkey is going to boost up to 3 bases really quickly. He's going to have a really great economy. He's going to have a lot of gas. Oh, God. Snow just moves forward. He's, like, switching into macro and then pushes forward here. And, yeah, he is going to be able to bust through. Oh, God. Like, the probes came out to fight for Soulkey, but now Soulkey feels the power of random Hydra bust timings. There's something cathartic watching. Okay, like, that kind of caught me off guard that it just randomly happened, because he is literally going into macro mode over here. But this is something that can happen in the matchups where your opponent can suddenly kill you. Okay, and the 2 big matchups for that are Terran versus PROTOSS and PROTOSS versus ZERG, where your opponent, like, can just randomly attack sometimes and you'll die. Let's go back and just take a quick look at that, right? Because it felt like Soulkey had a better opener. So he opened this up, right? Where's the Corsair? Corsair's here. And he just did another round of Hydras. So let's see if he sees this. Corsair's just sitting. Oh, it flies in. Okay, he sees a group of Hydras moving out. So let's see what he does here. Does he bring probes down now? He has High Templars starting to come out. Okay, yeah, see, he starts some cannons. That's wild, right? Because Snow just opened the wall, went into pure macro play, right? Evolution chamber, layer, 3 more hatcheries, right? He made more drones. He made 8, 9. Well, I guess he made closer to 10 drones here because he had to make some of these buildings. So he made a bunch of drones while he opened this up and the hatcheries and everything. And then he just kind of almost, it feels random because this could happen at any time. This isn't like a prescribed build where like you go find a guide and you're like, yes, and then after you make it look like macro, you make 9 more hydras and you attack, right? So he just made these, and the thing is, Soulkey saw them as they were leaving, throws down cannons, brings his probes, and he simply doesn't have enough. So, yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, and I think this shows the fragility that PROTOSS can sometimes have in this early game of PROTOSS versus ZERG. You can see that Snow, like, has some sort of understanding. He's lost to things like this plenty of times, right? Wow, that, like, honestly, I just don't see that often. And here's the thing, like, they're both, with these races, definitely S rank minimum. I don't know exactly what their MMR would be at. Like, MMR actually has shifted down lately by, like, hundreds of points. It's just, the ladder is kind of different in the last year or so than it was, like, 2 years ago. Like, for instance, yeah, so what I'm trying to explain is, I can't give you an exact number because they don't play enough ladder with their off races as to what they were or would be. Back when people were hitting 3K MMR on the ladder and ASL players were all 2,700 plus and all the players on the borderline of ASL were 2,700 plus. Right now, to put this in perspective, right, there's 2 players that are 2,700 on the ladder right at this second, right? It used to be 50 players that were 2,700, right? So it's just, I mean, it's just like the way the MMR is distributing, like how many players are up at the top, what are the win rates, how many accounts are getting reset, things like that. But yeah, so it, like, back in those days, I found that the general off race skill of pro gamer off races was a lot of them felt like about 2,400 MMR, right? But that wouldn't be the case right now. 2,400 is like scaled up from what it used to be. So I can't tell you exactly how strong each of their off races are. But yeah, I'm just interesting game. Anyways, leave me a comment below if you think it is a worthwhile endeavor, as literally next week these two are playing each other in the reverse matchup, for them to be practicing with their opponent's race. Because I feel like, you know, I'm not a PROTOSS player, I'm not a ZERG player, but I feel like this was a little bit illuminating to me, a little bit more than a lot of the pro games I see. It felt like Snow just, yeah, I don't know. There was something about it where he's like, yeah, you make another little group of hydras here, and sometimes you just catch them off guard right before the gateways are done, right? If these gateways are done, if this comes a little bit later and he has 5 more zealots, it doesn't really look like that. All right, anyways, enough chitter chatter. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this weird off-race game, and we'll see you next time.